What's up, guys, and welcome back. So on this one, I'm really super excited about this one. I've got the pleasure of having the crew from Radium Esk8 building some of the most maddest stuff. Got some of the best components in the Esk8 scene. Early one in UK, so I need loads of sympathy, loads of love to get through this one. I've been up. It's like 6 a.m. when I got up this morning. Not used to it, especially on a Saturday, my day off. But I'm here giving you guys the entertainment, giving you guys a love. I'm here with Radium, and I'm really excited to see what they've been brewing up. And we've got the whole, I believe it's the whole team. I've seen the background. Is this the whole team? Nod for the whole team. Yeah, it's the whole team here. So we'll bring him all in, and we'll meet the crew from Radium Esk8. So let's bring him in. What's up, guys? And thank you for joining. Let me just sort you out because I haven't done it yet. Cool. See, like I say, it's a pleasure having you guys in. So thank you for joining. So joining, you should go around the room and introduce a little bit yourself.
Yeah, I think I just. Oh, sorry, I lost your voice for a second there, Thomas. I'm Liam,
okay.
So there we go. All good. Yeah, I'm Liam, and I sort of founded Radium with Anthony. Who's
here? Me? Yep. Yeah. So Liam and I, we met obviously skating, and we both had the same kind of passion for something different, and so we just started working together. It was I think it was December 2019, just before COVID, I think.
I think it was around around July, I think 2020. I think if I'm right. Is that right?
Yeah. So we started. We got all excited, and then COVID hit. So we had plenty of time to work in the HQ, but yeah, Will came in the scene a bit later.
Yes, 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Around 6 months, I'm pretty sure, that I joined Radium, and yeah, it was great time working with Liam and Anthony. They're really good teammates to work with. A lot of challenges up ahead, but it'll be fun to see where this goes. And yeah.
Cool. Like I said, absolute pleasure having you guys in. So, who people who may not know about Radium in relation to kind of what the goal is, what the the driving force is. So, what is kind of the main goal for Radium moving forward then?
Well, initially it was just born out of necessity of creating good quality parts for DIY boards that would actually work. That would be reliable and just perform their function. Because started off making parts in 2018, and back then there wasn't a huge amount of stuff, and the stuff that I tried, I didn't really like it, didn't really work for me, and so that's where I started making my own parts, and then I really liked how those parts worked, and then started making them available for other people, and then so it just kind of kept growing from there. But there has always been sort of like a goal to create a production board, because we think that with the boards that are out there at the moment, we think better is possible. Just from my own experiences riding all different kinds of boards, it's like you ride one kind of board and you notice some really nice elements that it has, but then it has some major drawbacks, and then you're like, well, if this had this thing from this other board, it would feel really cool to have like these two things combined together. So just from trying different things, even riding normal regular longboards and how light and agile they feel, I feel like there is definitely, a lot of possibility with electric skateboards, just in terms of like what can be done. And it's kind of like the closest thing that I can have to having like a car company where you can create this thing that's kind of like a car, but there's actually, in my opinion, like a lot more that you can do in terms of innovation with electric skateboards, because they're still very new. And there's actually like so much potential in what can be done with them. And then also I love riding motorbikes and doing adrenaline sports, and nothing really compares to electric skateboarding for giving you an adrenaline hit, but also not putting your life in danger, having to do like 200 kilometers per hour on a motorbike to get that same kind of thrill. So yeah.
I think I agree with what you say, like kind of early days, and I appreciate you saying that. Like, I feel like with e-skate or PVs in general, it's an exciting time. And I don't know about you, but I've recently said that it's not necessarily ourselves who are going to be the ones leading this. I think imagine what the next generation is going to be riding, like the children of this generation of people making cool stuff. Like, you know, we're the point of developing making these crazy products. Imagine, and we're looking in that now. Imagine being like that and being early days and having those skills. Like the children of this chapter of Esk8 would be unbelievable. So as well as like go around the room a little bit. So William, how come you joined with Radium? What kind of or Will, how do you find joining like Radium along the way? Like what kind of brought you towards the group, and then, you know, what are you bringing to? It's kind of like a CV here. So what are you bringing in relation to joining Radium? What made you want to join in?
So I used to, me and Liam were high school friends. Just like down the road, like around Templestowe, we used to go to the same high school, and yeah, we just started just doing stuff together because I was quite interested in what he was doing when he started making the electric skateboards. And funny thing is, like usually we're not allowed to leave school grounds, but Liam was, because he was in Year 12, and we all would just ask him, "Can you get us Subway and stuff?" And he would usually just with his electric skateboard to Subway and comes back with like 6 Subways. So it's pretty cool when he do that, and just got me into riding an electric skateboard. And I asked him, I was like, "Hey, can I make one as well?" And then he just guided me from DIY, and it was very fascinating. Like I did not know like this was actually a thing. Like you actually have to design a lot of components and assemble it. And I found like the DIY part was very fun, but the lack of information from like the DIY group was just not like, it was pretty slim, and you need to actually look for it, and there wasn't much information out there. So it was very good that that Liam was here to give me a hand, and we just walked through the process in building this like his first DIY, and the other one he helped me make. And yeah, it was pretty good. And then we started working towards making batteries for Evolves, building custom packs for people, like extended battery packs, or even fixing their packs because it's broken. And yeah, that's like happened. Like,
that's how we met Anthony, actually, because we were building battery packs for Evolve. Me and William in the downstairs in William's house, we had this little sort of office set up with a bench building battery packs for Evolve boards. And so we would get people in with their Evolve, and we would do the swap for their battery on the spot. So they would be sitting there while we're like changing it all in front of them. And so Anthony was one of those guys that came in for a new battery for his Evolve, and it was his first electric skateboard. And it was kind of funny for us because we'd never we had some issues sometimes with changing them, like the connectors and things. We would have odd issues that would kind of you hadn't sort of faced before, and then the customer's just like sitting there watching you. And Anthony was this guy that we'd only just met, and he's this dude with tattoos that's like telling us how he makes knives for a living. And he's just sitting there staring at me while I've just like accidentally shorted something on his battery. It was fun. But yeah, it was a bit nervous.
I didn't know that. I had no idea.
Fine, just a little.
Yeah. You did well, because I had no idea that anything was going wrong. So yeah, but we really clicked. We really clicked at that time. Like, and but Liam and I started working together, and Will was still sort of around. Like, you'd still come in and you'd be making batteries a couple of days a week and stuff like that. So we've all known each other for 3 years, but the official sort of trio has only been in effect for the last over 6 months, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we tried, like, it was Liam and I for a while, and we tried another business partner. It didn't really work. But we've got a pretty good core little team now between the three of us. Like, these two are pretty industrious and get a hell of a lot done in the, like, what we call Radium HQ, which is Liam's shed. And it's like the mad scientist den. And I'm at the moment, my work is more done online. with website organisation, graphics, marketing, organising a whole lot of stuff. And we're working pretty well as a team. We're all sort of dedicated to the one cause, really. And there's not really much need to sort of amp up the troops or anything, because we all know what we need to do. So it's been good in that respect. But I was an early customer. I bought an Evolve 3 months earlier, and it was good. But as soon as I heard that you could upgrade a board and the battery at least, then I was like, boom, I've got to do it straight away. So found Liam online. That's when we met, and from there on, I just saw, knowing Liam especially, just how much better boards could be. Like, it's just. I thought the Evolve was really good at that point before I knew Liam, and then very quickly realised how much more any board can be. So we got really excited about, because I'm an industrial designer by profession, I guess. I studied industrial design, and it just the whole process of coming up with the ideation, the concept, where we wanted to go, defining our brief. And getting this board into production was really exciting, especially doing it with somebody like Liam. And I enjoyed the same aspect from working with Will. Is I'm much older. I've sort of said to Liam, I'm in my second sort of half of my career. So it's a good sort of juxtaposition between William and Liam and myself, in that, I hope I bring a little bit more maturity to some business decisions. And these guys have just got such an amazing energy and passion to make stuff and build things in the workshop, which, like Liam said, I make knives, so I'm not unfamiliar with workshops, but theirs is just, Liam, your workshop is just another experience. So it's great, like to see so much happen with, I wouldn't say limited tools. It's not limited, but it's not like we've got everything we need to get everything done. So, we like one of our early adventures was building a wooden oven to cure our carbon fiber parts. So we figured we needed like a low temperature oven. So we went, fuck it, let's just build it in wood, because we didn't want to spend a lot of money, and we made a wooden oven, and just like the stuff that comes out of the workshop is just, it's really inspiring. So so that's kind of how I got connected with Will and Liam.
Yeah,
so I got with the kind of, like I said, everyone's mentioned like the journey through like Esk8 and stuff. Like, my first question, first I want to say, and the marketing is on point. You really guys do represent a really professional, clean, every aspect you guys do. Like I say, with such a small team, and and putting everything, all resources you have into it. The way you guys present yourself is really, really professional, and it really does inspire, the message you guys have. But I've got a question for you, just a controversial one. Do you feel that when you say batteries, that's I'm guessing we're talking carbon Gen 2 Evolve, Gen 3?
Yeah, it was a GTX.
Yeah. Do you feel like those boards, and I think the same thing with, like say, with Will saying it as well, do you think those boards gave an opportunity to actually created your business, because it was the kind of, limitations of those packs that are being made at the time, and knowing that there was better opportunities out there, which brought you guys together? You said like you had your board and brought everyone together.
Yeah, I guess you could say that it did, but we're under no illusions, and we believe that like what Evolve have made is bloody amazing. For the price, to do what they've done in the market, like it's all hats off to them. Like they've really created an amazing product. And yeah, look, there's problems. You hear about all little issues, and I'm sure we'll have our issues as well. But and there's probably controversy on how Evolve deals with those issues. But in terms of the board, if we're just focusing on the product, they've done a really, really good job. So it wasn't sort of like a poo-poo thing. It was more about us just like I said,
wanting more.
Yeah, like I didn't know that, you know, how far this could go. And then just like in the early days, talking about Liam with all the possibilities. And, you know, at first it was actually quite tricky because that was part of our design process was like, so, like, you know, there's so many possibilities. It's like, what are we going to chuck out? What are we just needed to focus on stuff. And so I think a lot of the early days was a lot of sort of jockeying around what can we do and what are we going to do and how we going to, you know, how we're going to do it is predetermined because it's all on budget.
Yeah, and we actually had no idea really what we were going to start with, because I remember like it all kind of began talking to you at a group ride on a nice summer day where you wanted to do a custom build, and that was before we were business partners. And
I still need to do that, man. I still need to do it. I want.
Anthony wanted this really long board, like a 60-inch long.
Yeah, 72 maybe, longer. I want a long Esk8. Like
something a bit taller than him when it's standing up next to him.
Yeah. And I still want to do it. We've got to do it at some point.
Just
sure,
there's more important things to work on right now. So
yeah, but the tricky thing about that was, you know, we were kind of talking about it as a custom build, and then it's sort of you were going to go off and try and find a deck to use for it, but the problem was that no one really makes a deck that long except for like just sort of show pieces where it's just those sideways laminated redwood kind of things that's not really meant to be ridden. And part of that was because such a long deck needs to be really like stiff. And so that's when you started looking into carbon fiber, because that would be the ideal material to make such a long deck.
The fact that we had to bolt a battery pack underneath it was just offensive to my eye. I just didn't want to do it. Like I didn't want to get like firstly, that Malibu kind of style is not really me anyway. So I was sort of looking for something a bit more high tech. But even when I found carbon fiber, to get something that's going to hold up over that length, you need to go quite thick. You need to go like 10 mil of carbon fiber, and then to have this big battery pack hanging underneath it, that sort of turned me off it a little bit, I think. But I mean, that was part of the process of sort of the early days of talking. What's a good skateboard? What's going to work? What isn't? Like I don't mind having the extra length. I think that for trail riding and just cruising around, not for anything serious, but just for cruising around, I reckon it'd be really fun. Like you could, you know, give another person a lift. You could, you know, stand right at the front like a surfer and like cruise and carve everywhere. And I think it would be a very different feeling.
Couple beers along the deck as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I just want to throw in something with you, Liam, as well. You said like your first early builds, and then I said, "So you see if my investigation skills are working today." Is this ground zero? Is this ground zero?
Technically, no. That's sort of version 2 of the first.
Is that ground zero?
No, that's version 2. That's when I went to dual motor. It looks like
really?
That I had lots of issues with, which was sort of what kickstarted the whole thing. So there was actually a board before that where it was like that was my $500 build. So I had some crazy LED lights going on there. Took me like 2 days to program that with Arduino. It's cool. I had indicators.
Okay. That's cool. I like that.
Steering channel on the remote, had like an RC car controller. But yeah, before that, I had this like $500 budget build with like an Earthwing deck that I bought off Marketplace, ABEC 11 wheels, Paris 180mm trucks. And no one made motor mounts for the Paris trucks at the time. So I ended up just making my own motor mount. I was in high school. And so I 3D scanned the Paris trucks because I had a 3D scanner there. Then I bought this 3D printer, which was like one of the best things I ever bought because that taught me how to do CAD. And then I designed a whole bunch of motor mounts and then picked the best one, like got it all to fit nice. And then I made a plaster mold, and then I built a little foundry out of a LPG gas bottle with a hairdryer as the blower, and used barbecue briquettes, and I melted down aluminium pots and pans and actually casted my own motor mount for it, and it actually worked. And so that was like
a clear enclosure as well, clear ESC enclosure.
Yeah, it had the first enclosure was like this acrylic laser cut enclosure that broke on the very first test when I literally just dropped the nose of the board down by like half a meter, and the enclosure just cracked straight away. So it didn't last long. Ended up going to a 3D printed enclosure, which was actually surprisingly tough. Like, I never broke the thing.
That's right. I think I've got it here. Let me
You
just
might.
see if I've got it. Let me just see if I can. Just I think grassroots are quite interesting.
Yeah.
Is this it in the middle here? Was this the one here? Parachute. Looks like parachute, single motor, clear enclosure.
No.
No.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm just doing a fun like group ride. Is this traditional group ride?
Yeah. Oh, that's one of the group rides down here. No, I think I sent it. Might have sent it to you actually.
Oh, really? Okay. I'll
first
come back and I'll bring it back in.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. No worries. I will dig that up then. No worries.
But yeah, basically I had the single motor set up on the parachutes, and after a while I just wanted more power, and it kind of sucked having only one motor, because when you turn and you get on the power or the brakes, if you're not over that wheel just locks up or it spins. You have no traction. And so ended up upgrading it to a dual motor setup with torque boards, two 18mm trucks, a torque boards, motors. And then I bought these motor mounts off this guy on Instagram. It was like 180 bucks. I thought it was like super expensive. But it's like, well, these look like good motor mounts. And they turned out to be like the bane of my existence, because they just, like, everything went wrong with them that could have gone wrong. And so people used to that was the first board with the single motor and the cast motor mount. But yeah, people used to make fun of me. I'd say that I was coming to the group ride and they're like, oh, I'm not going to tow you this time when your board breaks down. And I was like, I can't have this, like someone else's thing that they designed is like, people are making fun of me. So I ended up being in a lucky position where I was working at the school I graduated from, Templestowe College, and they got a Tormark CNC milling machine. And so I convinced one of the students to help me machine my own motor mount design. And those motor mounts ended up being like flawless. Yeah, that was the cast motor mount. That was so cool. But so these motor mounts that I was able to CNC machine, they ended up being flawless. And so I was really proud of what I made. And I posted a picture of them online. And people started messaging saying, oh, these look great. I'd love to buy a set. And so I sold a couple of sets, and they were really happy with them. And so things started from there. And then basically I convinced my dad that if we bought a Tormark with the mortgage of the house, that I could make more money from it than the interest repayments would be on that loan. And so we ended up getting the biggest Tormark, the 1100M, and that's in the shed. And so I've started making lots of motor mounts, and that's where it all kind of began.
One thing I've been saying a lot recently is the whole kind of butterfly effect, and it's through like your availability of what you can afford and what you do, and your experiences that has made, with everyone else in the team, made that journey of making Radium. Because, like I say, you needed this current situation, you had these crappy motor mounts that you was having issues with, and you thought, how do I make things better? And it pushes you in a direction to kind of improve, the design on going forward. But I want to talk about kind of like recent events. Obviously, from me looking in as an outsider in UK coming in, some of the component. Why has there always been such a focus on the highest end, what's possible with Radium? Because like I said, since day one, it's always been about, like I say, with the motor mounts, it's always been a really refined product. It's been, people have used in DIY seem to share that experience going forward and seeing there's demand for it. Why has it always been about kind of producing what the highest end possible for Radium, do you believe?
Well, there's plenty of people that are already out there producing cheap stuff, like sure, some of it works, some of it doesn't, but I don't know, there's just, it doesn't really do it.
Shit, man.
Yeah.
We all like good stuff,
We're
just not. We've spoken so many times about how to, reduce the costs of things, and that's an ongoing exercise constantly. But like Liam's argument constantly too is, when with the stuff that we're doing on these boards, you want reliability. Like why would you, cut corners and go cheaper and you want to get something that's been specifically built for the task and built really well for the task. So why compromise, really?
I think, like I said, you've done the mounts, like I said, which are really nice at all. The first time I was like, wow, this is really, really something special, is when you started busting out your motors, which are now like pushing as a standard now more and more. Like, where does this come about? Okay.
Yeah, so basically, I've always liked, I'm kind of like a bit of a petrol head, and I love mechanical things. And I used to make these like solenoid engines in high school, which were like these little 3D printed engines that used electromagnets as pistons. Like, I just love engines and mechanical stuff. And so I've always wanted to design my own motor, just because it fascinates me, just trying to like work out how to make things better. I love trying to just always find the next little increment to make something better than the last version. And so then this company Reacher came about, and people were talking about the Reacher V4 motor quite a lot and saying, really good things about it in terms of durability. And that's what caught my eye, because the durableness is, there's plenty of manufacturers out there that make stuff that just breaks. Like, their quality control is kind of all over the shop. So if you're going to spend the time to like develop something, you want to work with a factory that is consistent and can do like high quality work. And so I ended up approaching Reacher and had a bit of a chat with them about potentially customizing their motor. And that was one of the 3D printed things that I made. I used to make all different kinds of engines. So that was like a hybrid jet engine.
I thought this was going to be incorporated on NX Build. I was like, Jesus, these guys are insane at this point.
That would have been sick. But so I reached out to Reacher, and they needed very high quantities for us to have our own design, and we don't have the money for that. Like, we're talking having to order hundreds of motors to have our own version. So I ended up making a bit of a deal with Reacher, which was that I would help them design a new version of their motor, and in return, I would get the high volume pricing, even though we're not ordering high volumes at all. And we would get to be the first to like release the motor under our brand. And so then I basically took the version 4 design and redesigned it. And then we got the first batch and had heaps and heaps of issues. The cans just keep coming loose. The sensors just didn't even work at all. The temperature sensors had lots of electrical noise, which means that you could get thrown off because your controller would be tripped by the noise, thinking that you're overheating, and then it would just cut out on you. And so we had like heaps of challenges to try and solve. And I probably spent a good 200 hours at least on refining those motors over time. We had people fry the coils, just like lots of different things that would always go wrong over time. And then each time we had an issue, I would just go back to Reacher, work with them on a solution, and then we would add that and make a refinement, and then we would get another batch, and then that issue would be fixed, and then we might find another issue. And it's just been like that for the last sort of year. But over that time, the motors have been sort of getting refined more and more and more, to the point where I'm like really happy to say I think they're the most reliable motors out there by far. Like, they're so tough. We smash them against curbs constantly, to the point where there's no paint left in the cans. We put a huge amount of current into them, ride them in the rain, and we don't really have any issues at all. It's awesome.
Do you know, I have a lot of respect for you guys saying that you do test things and you're open with things that have not worked, because I feel like, I don't know about you, but as a customer coming in from the back or from the outside, I think it's really important, because it shows that actually these came out and this didn't happen, or this, things were perfect straight away, but it shows actually we've done this, we've addressed this, we own this, and this is what we've done to improve that. So I think that's heaps of respect.
Yeah, like we get plenty of failures. We break things all the time. Like, even on the latest board, Dylan, one of our like sort of friends / test riders, he was doing some crazy jumps, getting some huge air, and we were trying to find the limit of the axles to see when the axles would snap, and we ended up turning the hanger into a total banana shape. Yeah, there you go. So Dylan was just launching the board out of a skate bowl and trying to land.
I think that's a small diameter, which I think maybe not aerial flight with these street wheels. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're 125 mil diameter rubber wheels. These are the version 2s, so they're not really that good at absorbing shocks either.
So that's cool. I said he was. I was right. I think he was repping out of the Evolve Open. I think, wasn't he, on his mountain board?
Yeah.
Build as well.
Yeah, he's actually filming with Evolve at the moment for their new off-road board that they're bringing out. So he's in Adelaide right now filming with them.
Okay, thanks for putting that in there. That's cool. Yeah, that's
so he's going to tell me what it's like. He's going to spill the beans early for me.
That's mad. That's cool. Right, well, that's exclusive, and so thanks for letting us know. That's cool. So, like I said, you've moved into complete boards. So, your new board, Jesus Christ, it's so sick. Well, I'm sorry.
We're very proud of it.
It is stunningly beautiful. Like, honestly, like,
thank you.
In relation to my demographic, like my channel, like looking at the bio boards behind and stuff like that. That is, I feel like that's a glimpse in the future of where we're going.
Yeah, well, that's why I kind of, came up with the term next generation electric skateboard, because it does feel like a pretty big leap in terms of what it's capable of. So it kind of does feel like next generation.
Yeah, I don't know everyone. Yeah, people agree it is a piece of. But is that from the? So, I'm interested in obviously understand the journey and stuff. So, and you say like you do the market stuff. Is this part of your baby, making this thing look as beautiful as it is?
It was a very equal distribution on all our parts. Like, we're all very fussy, and so we're all fussy in our own ways. And it's like, it was a bit of a surprise for me because I kind of didn't get where it was going in the early days, in terms of being an inspiration piece as opposed to something that was more representative of what we'd be selling as a product. So it sort of was a bit of an about turn for me during the project, but once I understood what the guys were trying to leverage off and make that wow factor, then for sure, like we got right into it. So just coming up, all of us really have to agree on all aspects of the design for it to move forward. So there's no real compromise in there for any of us. So we're all really happy with what we've produced. So
it's definitely not something we're going to be doing for production, because that livery, we worked out it would probably cost around, like, if someone wanted that livery, I think it would cost around 2,000 Australian dollars to like replicate it. It took us so much time, just with all the like individually cut out vinyl stickers that we had to place by hand, the painting, all the like prep work that came before the painting, the powder coating. Like, it's just, it's more of a marketing exercise, that livery. But it was also just so exciting for us to be able to do it, because just like, if you can do something really cool, why not?
Yeah, when I saw that and you said it was a concept, I was like, shut up. Like, honestly, like the demand must be like, this can't be this. Like, I'm telling you now, I'm telling, this can't just be a concept thing. This must be something beyond this, surely.
We'll take some cues from this livery for the production design, but it'll be a bit more toned down, the production one, because like not everyone wants a red standout board anyway.
Yeah, I understand. I just think as a piece, I think it's absolutely amazing. So a couple of things I want to highlight, and I didn't notice this I don't think it was visually, because it's so streamlined, they're visually noticeable until you really dig deep. But your suspension system in your board, when I saw it, I was like, what? Like, how does, like, that is so seamless built into the board. Like, I couldn't even believe it. Like, how seamless that. Whose idea was that?
That's really, well, it evolved over time. So that was like really true to our beliefs that if you're going to add something complicated like a suspension system, like, well, it can't be complicated because it's a skateboard. Like, you put these things through hell. And so, like, we've ridden boards with, full suspension systems that are complicated. And they're like, all you hear is people constantly having to fix them. They're like, oh, how's your I won't say the name, but has your board going, and
yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm just waiting for some new parts for it at the moment. I've just got to.
Is this board made out of glass by any chance? That's off road by any chance?
Yeah, it's a lot of parts.
Just keep it respectful.
And when you ride that too, the experience you get from riding it, I don't know. Like my experience when I first got to try them is just that they handle like a bag of jelly. Like the suspension absorbs everything, not just the road, but it absorbs your steering inputs as well, and adds a delay to everything. And that delay, I really hate having a delay because it gets me this like feeling of connection to the board where like my goal is to try and make the board feel like an extension of your body. So like it kind of disappears under you and it just feels like it's part of you. When you want to change direction, it changes direction like instantly. Like try and minimize that delay as much as possible. And so there's been a lot of boards that we've ridden, especially with like big wide trucks and pneumatic tires where they just absorb so much and there's just so much delay. And you just don't have that feeling of being connected to the board. I mean, sure, you can kind of develop after time. Go on.
I think to circle back to what you were saying about, or why did what was sort of the inspiration for having that compact suspension system connected into the board directly. Like we've always been of the opinion, and this is what Liam was just saying there, that skating and skateboarding has a particular action. Like you call it skating because it's like you're moving quickly along a surface, and the closer you can get to the ground. So board height is very important to us. Like we don't want really high board heights because it really does change what's actually happening, and the whole structure of the truck and everything to get a board up high to fit bigger motors or bigger wheels or whatever. That all makes a big difference to the ride feel. So from day one, it was always about being very compact as well, not sort of just, it's easy to make a big wide truck with big wheels. We've said, well, it's hard to make a very compact skateboard, not a mountain board or a transport board or something, because I don't know, it's like, to me, it's like an undefined class of these boards that are so big that they don't it's almost like those ones that they ride, you can, if you go play golf, you can hire a big skateboard
with the things
it's got a big car on it, like a scooter, for newbies and stuff like that, but obviously for your golf clubs and stuff. But at that level, like it doesn't, like that's not really skateboarding anymore. So that was always really big on our agenda, was to keep everything very compact and as light as possible, which is a real challenge when you've got to drag a battery around with you and all that kind of stuff. But just keeping it compact and small and more skateboardish.
The compactness has been like a huge part of the challenge too. Like trying to make things so compact and all fit in a tight space. It's just like just facing a lot of engineering challenges with doing that. But we've made it all work. It's not easy. Like it would have been so much easier for us to just take like a wooden deck, make a fiberglass battery enclosure, bolt it on normal trucks. It would have been so much easier than what we've done. But like one of the keys to making the board really compact and agile was using carbon fiber and making a structural battery enclosure. So that was like one of the first ideas we had about keeping things super compact, is because like you've got a super thick wooden deck, like they're like 16 mil thick for a lanyard deck.
So much extra.
You're adding this really, like it's 16 mil thick, but it's still not a strong shape structurally. Like if you look at how any building is constructed, the beams are hollow box sections. They're not like flat planks, right? The flat plank is very flexible, and so you need to make it really strong to not flex. So what we've done is turned it around and made the battery enclosure the structure that carries all the load. So you can take the deck off and you can stand on the battery enclosure and ride the board if you want. The deck is like this separate thing that sits on top. And because we did that, we were able to make the whole thing very thin. By using carbon fiber, it's super stiff. You can sink the batteries in. We've got a double stack battery, and there you go. So that's the chassis with the structural enclosure, and then we've got a double stack battery. And because the deck doesn't need to be so thick anymore, we could kind of like squash the whole thing together, where the like enclosure is kind of like sunken or raised up into the deck. And so even though it's got a double stack battery, it's actually quite a thin board. Like you have to take, a good like 5 steps back to actually see the enclosure at all. It just sort of disappears on the board.
Sorry, just want to ask a quick question. So just want to brief out just briefly. With the suspension system, is that something that you're going to add on to as a product as well from this project?
Well, one of the issues, so like you might have a photo there of our very first suspension design somewhere. I'm not sure if I sent it, but basically on like the very first attempts to try and, there's like a picture of a wooden plank with some like yeah, we just had this like wooden plank and we just machined up a testing. We didn't really know what we were doing. We were like, yeah, this thing needs
extreme concave on that one, yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So like we were like, yeah, we don't really know where the bushings go. So we made this like complicated like linkage thing that holds the bushings, and it just didn't work at all. Like you took like you put 5 kilos of weight on it and it just sagged to the ground, and everything just bent at the same time. It was rubbish. So yeah, we kind of had to work it out slowly over time. But if you think about it there as well, like look where the batteries have to go. The suspension's taking up heaps of the room where the batteries and the controller would have to be. And so you're going to end up with a much longer board or with a really small battery.
That was me arguing, like, it's okay to be longer. It's okay to be longer. But Liam was like,
it's going in the right direction for ants.
Yeah, but I'm glad that Liam was adamant, because he was like, no, you can't make it that much longer. Like, yeah, we have to. And that's what that argument, I think, is, part of what sort of helped to squash it even more, just to try and make it as, like, as compact as possible. Sorry.
Yeah, so that structural enclosure lets you mount the suspension on an angle to the enclosure, and then it doesn't actually take up much room at all. And that's why we can't really sell it as a standalone thing, because like not only is it designed for our enclosure to mount on an angle very specifically, but also we've decided to integrate the trucks as well. So as we made more and more prototypes, we were like, we've got all these individual pieces everywhere. And why do we have to have this like separate base plate as well? If we're going to make our own trucks, why don't we just make this all one piece? Because like the less parts you have, the more simple the design is, the more reliable, the lower the cost. And so I ended up trying to find a way to merge the trucks into the swing arm of the suspension. And then that's how you ended up with the latest design. So it was like I didn't know if it was going to look good because it'd never been done before. So it was like a form follows function thing. And I'm pretty happy with how it looks. It gives the board a unique look, and it's really simple from a design perspective. That was the version 2 suspension. So when we were trying to integrate things a bit more, so instead of like a normal top mounted base plate, we made a base plate that's really skinny. And then we had this complicated, we were trying to reduce cost in the suspension because of, we had this business partner at the time that was right into high volume manufacturing. And so we came up with the idea to use like folded metal, parts that were folded and laser cut out and welded together to make the suspension. But it ended up being terrible. Like the parts were all warped, the tolerances were crap. We had metal on metal, so it was super harsh. But it kind of like paved the way for that integrated swing arm truck base plate idea. Like
so I'm going to squeeze a little bit, just with a tiny bit of pressure, because I obviously asked about the suspension. Any other elements on this board that we could potentially see coming out as valuable products? Because one thing I want to say as well, just before I answer that question, is I know for me and a lot of other people who saw your board just kind of had a breath, be like, finally something new and exciting is coming out. Like, honestly, I think you guys should, just from me, from the community member looking in, like something really refreshing, unique. So I think we don't support unique kind of innovations enough, and things that get very, very samey. Like every single thing on that board, it was like, yeah, this is a lot of work and it's seamless and it looks really good. So as I say, it's really refreshing to see it. But is it
people just share out the frustration that we have? We see new boards coming out all the time and people are starting to get all excited about them, and then I'm just like, there's nothing new about this though. Someone just taken, someone just made a slightly different shaped wooden deck, slapped even bigger motors on it. Like, it's probably going to handle even worse than the last versions with smaller motors. So I don't know. I think people do share like the same frustration that we have. We just see like all these companies just taking off-the-shelf parts, bolting them together, slapping a brand on there, and marketing it as this new amazing thing. And that it's really like nothing different to really what's out there. So that's why we were kind of like, all right, we have to be the ones to do something different, and get people.
They can sacrifice his tribute. So, is any of these other components, do you reckon, coming things you've learned along the way that just because I'm greedy, is any of these elements coming out, do you reckon, on the next project, or because obviously the concept's already been shown? Is there anything from this you feel like you're going to start looking as releasing as more products or complete builds or stuff like that at all?
Yeah, so the board that you see, the XP3 board that we've shown with the red livery, the racing livery, that is what we're going to be selling. It's just not going to have that livery on it. It'll be a different color, but basically what you see is pretty much what it'll be like for production. So we're kind of just starting to get into that production phase now, trying to actually deliver them to people. So this year we're making 15 boards, 10 going to a few special people that have signed up for one of the first 10, and they're going to get like a special unique livery that's for that board, titanium hardware. It's going to have a little badge with an engraved, 1 of 10 or 2 of 10 on there. And they're sort of like, it's kind of like a founder's edition. And that's sort of so we can practice making, something at any kind of volume, because we've never done mass production of something that's this complicated before. Like, it's like, well, we've tried to make the board super simple. There's still over 100 components in this thing, and it's like all new stuff that's newly innovated. Even the battery is like a completely new modular system that no one's ever tried before. So we need to sort of have some practice at like making these things that, say make 10 or 15 of them before we go on and take orders for like 100, and so that's kind of the idea behind making 10 to begin with. And so we're doing that this year. We're hoping to get those finished by Christmas. And then next year is when we plan to be going into the full steam ahead production, when everyone will be able to buy one.
They are stunning, and I'm not going to grind you because I can imagine, like I say, it's through the development stage of pricing, all that stuff, it's working to BC, I can imagine. But yeah, I really hope to see one of these out. Just want to say 2 questions. First one's a selfish one because it's my channel. You guys coming to Esk8 Con next year with one of these? Please tell me you are.
That's the plan. Yeah, we couldn't make it out this year because it was, we just couldn't make it. But there wouldn't have been much point anyway, because we've only got we only had one working prototype. But next year we'll have a whole bunch of boards, and probably Dylan will be with us too. So we'll just
strap him on and let him go.
Yeah, he's our secret weapon.
Yeah,
so we'll see how close he can get to the Stooge guys on the track. I can't wait.
Yeah, do you know what? I think, and honestly, speaking with those guys, they are unbelievable, honestly, what they're doing. And I think this is the first time I've seen someone else coming from a different demographic be like, yeah, well, we're coming, it's not going to be that easy for it. But here's a really interesting one. It's a bit controversial. Are you concerned with copies in this Esk8 community and stuff like that? I think there's too many elements here.
Look, people, the whole sort of Esk8 scene at the moment, to us, it feels like it is just copying. Like, I feel like people are just copying each other. Like, people take the MBS trucks and then they just make a billet version for their production board, or they even, I've seen certain brands just almost identically copy another brand's trucks and market.
To be honest, I just want to say one thing you say about the MBS Matrix trucks, to be honest. I remember I was reviewing a board which had similar stuff, and I referred to them as, this is where they're inspired to. And then another, I'm not going to name names because I'm not going to spread the hate, but another company was like, yeah, those look very similar to us. I'm like, you literally copied from MBS those truck system, you just made them 10 times bigger, and then you're saying that they're copying you. It's literally, it's the same thing again.
Yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, we this is our design. I'm like, well, those are just MBS, just 10 times bigger. We literally the same.
Yeah, so no, I'm sure people will copy us because, it's I think that's special.
If they don't, then we're not doing something right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But at the same time, we're not too worried because it's been really difficult to develop all this stuff. Like, we've been at it for 3 years, and so it's not easy to do what we've done. Like, it's really difficult. So even if they did copy us, Like there's so many things that we've found.
There's a lot of stuff in it.
Like even like the shape of a bushing, like just off by like 1 millimeter will make like a huge difference to how the board rides. So like, well, you know, someone could try and copy it like identically just by how it looks, and it would ride totally different. So.
It's like you're in a world of pain if that's your motivation. Basically, we've gone through the development stage. Be my guess.
Well, we've also got like a lot of innovation happening. Like part of the problem is keeping Liam to only a couple of products, right? Rather than like going, oh, we can have this and we can have this and we can do this and we can do that. And it's like, whoa, come on, let's just focus. And so, you know, I think anybody who does come along and copy, and there will be people, it's inevitable. The problem is they're always behind. So they're not actually next level, they're the last level. Like, you know, we're next level. We're the ones that are moving forward with stuff. So
I think we've seen an example of that with the whole Stooge race boards, 3-link truck systems, which is now people trying to clone stuff in this last years. But people like just buy from Mo, just get the stuff you know is going to be good. So you know, I think like I said, from the DIY stuff that you guys have built, they know that your stuff is high quality. So you could have stuff that be a copy, but they don't know. They know that you've bashed the living hell out of the thing before you.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time though, just from my experience of the market, like you can be the original and have the best product out there, and the copies aren't as good. But if the copy is half the price, and that's what people can afford with the money they have in the bank, then you know, even if they do totally respect you for being the one that pioneered it, I don't know, people still seem to just buy the thing that's cheap. So that's why we've kind of made a focus to not just make, you know, this sort of not be a boutique brand making very like small batches of boards or building the DIYs like custom builds one at a time. We've decided to go like a bit bigger with production because of economics of scale. Like that's how all these companies in China are making boards that are so damn cheap, is they're just producing 500 or 1,000 of them each batch. And it's just economics of scale. So like we can't build that many boards yet, but we're kind of, you know, we're working up, and if we build something in a large quantity, then we can bring the price right down. So we're actually pretty impressed with the price we've been able to achieve with this board. And, you know, that's one of the weapons we have against people copying us, is that it's not some super expensive thing where someone else might say, oh, we can make that at half the price, because the price is already pretty good. So
I'm excited to see what that's going to be. Like I said, I can imagine, like I said, it's to be confirmed still. So don't want to.
We sort of have a price in mind, which is about 3,300 US or 5,000 Australian. So that's including a 12S 6P multi-cell P42A battery.
Oh, nice. And a pretty cutting edge technology as well. That's the thing. That's what I think people don't get, is like I say, when you look at these higher end high-performance stuff, you're paying for the time and the innovation as well. Right. So just want to throw in something. We've got about 8 minutes left. Everyone is watching. Thank you so much for staying the whole way through. If you guys want to throw in any questions, please throw them in now, because we've only got about 8 minutes left of the stream. But we'll just keep flying through. So, like I said, next year, aim to get to Esk8 Con. You're going to get these boards out. Is there going to be, I'm just greedy for content, is there going to be more content of these boards, or coming out?
100%. We got some good stuff in mind. We're trying to we're busy trying to come up with new content for Esk8 rather than just repetitive boring sort of skating down a path kind of stuff. We want to try and push the boundaries a little bit. So we've definitely got some good ideas there. We've got heaps of ideas. I don't want to give too much away.
No, that's fine. I'm not going to grind you too much. I just, a little bit and come out, make into it. Is that the thing with Radium? It's always questioning the norm and what's possible. Like the market on this video was like, dude. To be fair, I literally was like the whole time going, just trying to get the shots. I was watching this the whole way through, and I've noticed you guys are like to hit the dirt on your rubber wheels as well. Like you're not nice to your.
Well, one of the cool things about like what I've tried to do, like a lot of electric skateboards, they're really good at one thing, and then after a while, you kind of get bored of that one thing. Like if something's just a straight line missile, like having a fast car. Like you just only want more and more because you just get used to what you have. So like the philosophy with this board was to try and make it good at doing lots of different things. And so like riding off-road and gravel is one of the things that this board is really good at. Like you can slide and go sideways and drift corners, and I can go to a park with like nice smooth gravel tracks. And I can just be there for hours practicing corners, just trying to like nail each corner going sideways, you know. So there's like a whole range of things this board is good at. And I think that's really important to make sure that you don't, you know, just get bored of doing the same thing over and over. Like there's lots of different stuff you can do with the one board. Yeah.
So like doing stuff like this, just to see.
Yeah, just testing the limits of some small rubber wheels.
Do you know what I was impressed with? I didn't actually notice there was so much testing until I did so much digging. Like the stuff you've put your board through is like. But that's the thing is like for me with the pricing, you know, with not entry level boards, but putting this time in, it's like I feel like it's a bit like the deep sea diver watch effect. It's a bit like my Rolex can go 5,000 feet, whatever, underwater. But when am I ever going to test that? No. Am I going to take this board through a dirt trail over tree roots? Probably not. But it can do. And I think that's just showing that what's possible.
And that some of that's just a function of what it was initially designed for. Like the suspension system, it was initially to make that really stiff chassis actually comfortable, but then it sort of like ended up allowing it to do all this extra stuff too. And it's just, we didn't know it was going to be able to do that, but we just built it, and then we're like, oh, it can do this stuff. Oh, that's really cool.
I think the community is so unbelievably greedy, aren't they? If the XP3 is next level, what comes next from Radium?
Yeah, we want to do like a more race-focused board after this one, I suppose.
And this isn't a race-focused board, Jesus Christ.
No, this is our street board. This is just a street weapon, ride to the shops,
Yeah.
So,
you can still off-road it if you need to, but sorry, go on.
No, sorry, I just had a question. So with the talk, how does the system work in relation to the board?
Yeah, so the torque vectoring is pretty interesting because it's not like a car. So like on a car with torque vectoring, you give more power to the outside wheel in the corner to help the car rotate. On a skateboard, it's actually the opposite. You want to give power to the inside wheel because when you give like different levels of power to the rear truck, it actually steers the truck. So you actually get like power steering. We found all this out through just trial and error and testing. And so we've got this steering angle sensor on the board. So it knows the exact steering angle, not like a gyro or anything like that, because I wouldn't trust that. It's an actual real Hall effect sensor. And then based on your steering angle and your speed, it gives different levels of power to the rear motors. So it basically splits your throttle input up and decides which motor to give it to. And like we've actually found so many more benefits than just the power steering. So, but yeah, it helps make the board feel more alive and agile, helps you turn tighter. You can put the power down really early coming out of corners, and it just doesn't understeer. It just turns harder as you're coming out of corners, and you get more grip because the wheel with all the weight over it on the inside, that gets all the power. So you don't actually have this sensation of feeling like your wheels are going to break loose when you're in a corner. It feels like it just grips really hard, and then you just pull out of the corner way earlier than you would be used to doing. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
I just wanted to find a couple of things. One, I'm learning so much more. I didn't know that this was part of your system on your board. Like, honestly, is this just for the giggles? Like, with why you want to make these kind of stuff?
After the experience, so like, I don't want any gimmicks or anything like that. Everything that we put on this board is there to add to the whole experience and make the ride feel better and more alive and more like what we want. Like the torque vectoring helps hide the weight of the board. I mean, we've already done heaps of stuff through the truck design and the weight distribution and everything like that to help hide the weight. So it handles like a really lightweight board, even though it's 17 kilos. But then the torque vectoring makes it even more agile and Ferrari handling.
I just want to say as well, like, from my experiences, speed is amazing, but you're only as fast as how confident you feel on the board. And I suppose that's the foundation. That you can have the fastest thing in the world, but if you can't put the power down, it's literally redundant. Right, so I'm almost about to go over. So I just want to give the last few bits to you guys. Is there anything particularly you want to mention or talk about for the last 5 minutes of the stream, or anything you want to highlight or talk about?
No, I just saw David Perry ask if XP3 is next level, what comes next for Radium. There's so much we've got ideas for. It's insane. And
there's no shortage of ideas around here.
Yeah, really,
there's too many ideas.
Yeah, what we're really doing right now, we're not sure, we're not 100% sure of what the next level is, but we're just working on the current next level, which is the XP3, and getting that through to production. Once we've sort of nailed that down, we do have a lot of other ideas, things that are going to come out and complement the board. So the board kind of really was designed. I mean, we didn't want to be proprietary, but unfortunately the market made us that way, where we had to make trucks that only fit our enclosure and such specific items. But what that's done too is it means that like Liam said, everything we're designing, like we're not doing things that are gimmicky. I mean, maybe we might get some nightclub disco lights on the board, or somebody might add those on later on themselves, but we're not like that. We're kind of a bit more like rip the rear vision mirror off and throw it away because you don't need to see what's behind you. We're all about going as fast as you can, as well as you can, and maybe not even fast, like you said. Not everyone wants to go fast, but everybody wants to have a great experience when they're riding, and feel like it's something
Trust
completely
in the board,
different, trusting that, because that's the thing. Like, you're flying along down the asphalt at how fast, whatever you're doing, it's like, let's be honest, anything over 20, 25k an hour, if you come off, it's not pleasant.
It's gonna hurt,
So you want to trust what you're riding, and that's what this is all about, is making something that is a precision machine to actually achieve that buzz, that feeling.
That's very great. I think that having faith in your product and knowing the testing and that it does more than you need, I think that's a really good message. Is there anyone else got anything they want to say before we wrap everything up as well?
I think we've covered quite a bit.
Yeah.
Cool.
Any more questions?
I think that's all the questions. I don't think we've got anything else going through. Obviously, we've just gone over the hour, just a smidge. But I just want to say, absolute honour and pleasure seeing. Have a little bit of a glimpse of the mad scientists down under, build what you're building next from Radium, and I can't wait to next year you said Con and seeing the first batch of boards, seeing new content in a new way. As a content guy, I can't wait to see where that's coming out. Just loads of exciting stuff, and wish you guys all the best, and can't wait to see more and more what you guys are doing.
Thanks, Thomas.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, I'll leave it there, guys. You take care, everyone. Thank you, everyone, so much. Peace out.
Thank you.